like straight out of the fridge cold, it's good. It's fine. It's just like a porter. It's got a little vanilla flavor. But if you let that thing warm up to like, I don't know, 60 degrees ish, and you drink it, the vanilla just like explodes with flavor.
Say vanilla again?
Vanilla?
Say it one more time.
Vanilla.
One more time for the people in the back.
Vanilla.
You change it up every time you say it.
I lived a lot of places.
The first time you almost said vanilla.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That
Vanilla.
boy,
Said
that
what?
boy, eat vanilla.
Manila?
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
Like salmonella, but vanilla.
Like vanilla.
Vanilla?
Like salmonella.
Vanilla? Vanilla.
Yeah, that's
Vanilla.
what you were saying. That's what you said the first time. You were like, oh, with little hints of vanilla.
How do
Right.
you say it? You say it.
Vanilla. You said
Oh,
it right.
Nilla.
Yeah, by the
Oh, I hear
end,
what
you
you-
ended up saying
Instead of
vanilla.
Ella.
Like, you said Nilla by the end.
I probably said it the other way.
That's
yeah.
why I was saying, like, oh, this boy's changing it up, because...
I don't really think about the way I say vanilla. Then now I have to. Gosh, I don't want to think
Vanilla.
about that word.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
You know what's one word?
That's the name of the compound that like is what we associate with the word vanilla. Is the name of that compound is vanillin? I think that's
Vanillin?
I think that's how you say it. But
Vanilla or vanilla?
vanillin. I don't know.
Is it vanillin or vanillin? Because you over there saying vanilla, boy.
vanillin.
Look, well, I don't know if you've ever read Harry Potter, but enunciation is key.
I saw something about Harry Potter in the news like just
Vanillin.
today. What's her name?
You fucking read say the wrong thing, and Ron had some people. Anyway, what happened now?
JK Rowling? I don't know. I didn't look. I just saw it like kind of breezing through Twitter that she said some shit, and then people are popping off on her. Be mad. You didn't see this? I thought you were in the Twitter game. I thought you were in deep.
I don't follow authors.
I don't follow an
And
author
celebrities
either.
and I follow 3 celebrities. I follow Elon Musk. I follow Donald Trump because he's stupid, and I follow Neil deGrasse Tyson because it's Neil deGrasse Tyson. I fuck with Neil deGrasse Tyson. Anyways, fucking time is it?
Damn
My
near
battery's low. It's damn near 1. 12:56, 55, 57, something. Day is it June 7th?
It is June 7th. Yeah. Month for my birthday.
June 7th, 2020. It's not Friday, it's Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Easy like Sunday morning. My name is Justin. To my right, your left, that's going to be Steven.
Yo.
Across from us, always producing Eric.
Her name is JK because this bitch can't be serious. Shout out to whoever tweeted that.
Welcome to the Lone Ranger versus Tonto up in this bitch.
Welcome, everybody. Whew. Another week.
So about JK Rowling.
She was tweeting out. Oh, man, I saw the tweet. Basically saying that if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives.
I agree.
I don't even understand. Like, I mean, okay, JK. I don't know. I'd have to read that again, but I guess I just don't understand what's the point of what she's saying. Like, you respect trans people and what they're asking for, but here's a disrespectful statement to them, So I'd have to go back in there and reread that, like, because maybe you might agree with the position, but why would you say like, hey, here's like, it's just
Using her platform to make her opinion public?
But when you start off talking about something and saying like, I care about you, but here's this thing that is disrespectful and I don't care, that shows that I actually don't care.
She started out by saying something, then she threw that in to make sure that you knew that she's not trying to hate or say anything funny. She's just trying to explain to you what happens if you do that.
I don't know. When you say but in a statement, kind of negates the thing that you said before it.
That's not true. That's such a goofy rule that rules out most every other sentence in a conversation.
No.
Yeah, stupid. Next time you say butt, I'm gonna be like, well, whatever you're talking about doesn't matter anymore. You
What if
just
he's-
butted it.
What if he says that he likes big butts and he can't lie?
Oh,
I think there's some extra tea in there.
yeah.
Well,
Green tea.
Green tea?
Got a little extra green tea in there. So what about this is vanilla?
Nothing.
Oh, this one
That's
ain't.
the
This
other
ain't the
one.
vanilla one.
No.
Everybody, just in case you don't get to see it, we're making fun of Steven today because he don't know how to say vanilla. That boy say vanilla.
Yeah.
Shout out if you say vanilla too. You fucking weirdo.
I say a lot of things weird. I think it's partially from growing up here and in Minnesota, and then also spending time in the South for years. And it's changed the way that I speak a little bit.
All right. That'll happen, I guess.
But yeah, definitely Minnesota fucks up the way you talk. Because I don't think I talk like I used to. Like, I don't sound like I did when I was 8. But in some words, it does come out. Because I've lived here a lot longer than I lived in Minnesota. So it's kind of dropped off from listening to more people talk, being exposed to more languages down here, too. Like, I didn't know anybody who didn't speak or I didn't know any bilingual people, like when I lived in Minnesota. Maybe one family. And that was it. Then I moved here. And I was like, whoa. There's some people who don't even speak English here. It was a complete culture shift for me when I moved here in 5th grade.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. What about you, Eric? You ever feel like you have problems enunciating English words?
it's a stupid word. Comfortable. Comfortable.
Oh, comfortable.
Because it starts as comfortable and then it ends as comfortable. Like it always goes through that same process, and I hate it.
That's amazing. Comfortable. Comfortable. One time I went to Chick-fil-A. And there was like the girl at the window. She must have just been like brand new. You could tell she was bilingual, of course. Like right away she had an accent. She was bomb too. And when I when I got up there, I drove up obviously to the window, grabbed my food, handed her my card. Or no, handed her my card first or whatever. She gives it back. I said thank you. Right? She didn't say nothing. She grabs the food, gives it to me. I said thank you. And she smiles and turns. And then I heard the lady behind her manager or something, tell her in Spanish, you got to tell him, it's my pleasure. And so she turns around, she goes, oh, my bad, it's mi placer. And I was like, oh, girl, I'm about to get down on one knee. Shit.
Oh, that's funny.
It'd be like that. Steven, I saw you take a drink of this, and then your face went.
Yeah, you guys should pop it open and try it. I definitely wanted you guys, for that reason, to have kind of a side beer as well if you need it to wash it down. Because I don't know if maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. Ooh, Eric got an excited one.
What the fuck is this? Mango Lime Tart? See, this is cool. This is some shit I would have chose. You go in there and you go to like the 31 flavors of Baskin Robbins and get vanilla 18 times in a row. All the different ways they serve it.
What? I don't think I've brought one just vanilla beer.
Yeah, that was more of a figure of speech.
That kind of vanilla.
That you have. You've never been to Baskin Robbins either, is the point. I'm saying you go to Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors. You go to these liquor stores, they got every fucking flavor beer. You always bring the whack ass vanilla. You don't never bring nothing cool like Mango Lime Tart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
That's cool. Like Mango Lime Tart, that's the one.
Yeah, you should try it.
That's flavor number 28. Boy, you ain't never been past flavor 3. This boy brings vanilla chocolate and that's a word I don't know how to say.
Chocolate?
What's the one with the 3
Neapolitan?
Neapolitan? Is it Neapolitan or Neapolitan or how do you say that?
I always say Neapolitan.
Yeah, Neapolitan.
Why is it called that?
I don't know. Probably for neoliberals. Definitely.
That's got to be it. I thought it was Neo from The Matrix.
Oh, that could be it.
I thought it was
Very red pill, Very red pill.
It was. And ice cream was named in the late 19th century as a reflection of its presumed origins in the cuisine of the Italian city of Naples and the many Neapolitan immigrants who brought their expertise in frozen desserts with them to the United States. That's hard.
You know, what's hard is when you said cuisine.
Italy represent.
What did I say?
You said cuisine.
Did I say cuisine?
Yeah. Said cuisine. We were just talking about it. That shit's so hard. We got that shit on audio. Oh. Watch me being racist. He just says cuisine all perfect. I'm like, oh, fuck. No, in America, we say cuisine. Fool.
There's a Z sound in that word.
Hell yeah.
Cuisine.
I know we told you that
Quasine.
S's make the S sound, but not in all words. Sometimes you say cuisine.
Nas.
Yep. You got on me just the other day about
Yes.
talking about Nas.
Fuck.
Don't be extra about it.
There's a Kanye lyric where he says he's rapping all Nas,
Uh-huh.
but it's supposed to be like a double play on like Nice and Nas because he has that same flow as Nas.
Oh, yeah.
That's tight. But
Yeah.
this beer is this feels like a dessert.
That's how I would describe it.
Should I try it? Should I try it, y'all?
I haven't added it though.
No, me
It's
neither.
fresh. Like it's
I mean, for what it's called and what it is,
they didn't
I mean,
lie.
ding, bingo.
That's
You hit the nail on the head.
Tastes like sherbet, boy.
It kind of does have a sherbety touch to it.
Fuck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck yeah. Ice with extra sugar. Nailed it. Pretty bomb.
Pretty bomb. Well, so
Tastes like it'll give me a headache if I have more than one, but
yeah, it probably will. Wait till you feel the power of just pure lactose in your system. We had a lactose beer, I think, last time too.
that's what this is?
This has lactose in it. Yeah.
What the fuck? I'm lactose intolerant. Didn't we go through this?
Same.
I've got lactose impersistent. Or
Well-
lactase impersistence.
If you're gonna ask for
That was the word I was looking for.
If
last
you're gonna
time.
ask for the Baskin Robbins of beer and then get mad about having to drink lactose, like, it's just not gonna work out. You can't have both there.
I
Like,
guess that's
that's
true.
how you make dessert beers, is because lactose the sugar isn't eaten by the yeast, right? And so it can remain sweet and give you that sweet backbone in there without making the beer more alcoholic and the yeast just going crazy on it. So that's what. And it gives it like a little bit different mouth feel. It kind of gives you that little flavor. Like the vanilla in this really, I think, gives you that little bit of graham cracker, right? That's like kind of tastes like the tart, like that little part. And it all plays together. It is like taking a bite of a mango lime tart. I get a lot more lime. I don't get as much mango. I don't know about you guys. The lime is really present for me. And I don't know. Let me see if I can get any more mango.
There's a little mango in there. More lime, though.
In the nose, I think you get like the.
It does go
smells like mango.
It goes like lime, ice cream, mango, beer. That's how I taste the flavors.
It's the most in-depth taste analysis I think you've done so far on a beer.
That's the most in-depth beer you brought, boy. You brought a bunch of vanilla. You want me to fucking talk about the sprinkles every time, boy? Shit. All sprinkles taste the same. And all them beers taste the same. Trash. This is cool, though.
I feel like this would be cool with a little bit of salt.
Put a little bit of salt on it, boy. See what happens.
I might just be the Mexican in me with the lime.
No, I think it is kind of missing the salt component of the crust that balances some of the sweeter and tangier parts of it. Yeah, I can see that.
What's the crust?
Like on a tart, like the thing in here.
Oh,
see
okay,
the crust?
yeah, I got you. I thought beers had crust. I was real confused for a second.
That'd have been hard.
Well, so this brewery, Wiley Roots, they're up in where are they at? They're in northern Colorado. I just don't know the exact.
Northern Colorado.
Where are y'all at? Greeley. And Wiley Roots catches a lot of shit from like beer community and especially like really hard-nosed beer dudes that are all like just about style, right? Because a lot of the things that I've been bringing are beers that are brewed to style. They're brewed to, maybe it's a historic one. They've actually updated the styles a ton over the last few years to add in a bunch of stuff. Like, I don't think this is quite in the category, but like Wiley Roots does shit like making slushy beers and like all kinds of just out of the box kind of beer that people take a lot of offense to. Like, I don't, it's not me. I'm not one of these people. I'll drink this, I guess. You know, it's not what I like. This isn't really what I go for in beer is, you know, dessert beers. They're interesting. And some people fucking love them. Like Wiley Roots built their name on doing beers like this, even though they can also execute fantastic beer at the style level, right? Stylistically, they can make really great beers too. And I've had some of those beers from them and they're great. But this is the first time I've ever tried one of their, like, I don't know, you could call these hype offerings, because, you know, they'll put one of these out at least once a month, like a new flavor of this kind of stuff, or this going on with like a sour, or some, I think they had a cherry slush there as well. Has like all kinds of Sonic looking
Sign me up
shit.
for this shit.
And yeah, it's a weird part of beer. Some beer nerds like hate this shit. Some of them love it, and some people are not beer nerds and just get into beer culture because of this stuff, because they find that there's a ton of breweries doing stuff like this around the country. But Wiley Roots was definitely one of the first ones. I think they might have even started in Wyoming, if I remember right, and then moved to Greeley once they kind of got a little bit bigger. I think that's Wiley Roots that did that. But you know, when you can nail it this hard and really get like you said, it's missing a little bit of the salt flavor, but otherwise, like, it tastes like biting into a mango tart. I don't want more than probably half this can, but it's cool. Like, it definitely, I love the way that it gets people into beer that, you know, can see some complexity in something that normally they're just like, it's fucking beer, you know, and this knocks it out of the park.
They have one. They have a new release called 𝗔𝘃𝗶𝗯𝗃𝗲.
Mm-hmm. That sounds hard.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh,
It was there, and I would have. It's 𝗔𝘃𝗶𝗯𝗃𝗲 is referring to Citra as the hop Citra, not like citrus.
Not citrus.
And so it's like a very focused, and Citra is a great hop that you get all these like crazy pineapple and like fruity like aromas from it. It's a very popular hop right now, which is why they have a 𝗔𝘃𝗶𝗯𝗃𝗲, which is just like overwhelmingly using this into an IPA. The beers that you say all taste the same, or
Them vanillas.
yeah. And so they had a couple at the store today, but I thought I was gonna go with the cherry, but I was like, nah, this is the one that I'd rather drink if I'm gonna pick a dessert beer.
It's a good one. The salt kind of just rounds out the flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really stands out as much anymore. Still good, but like, I think it is better without the salt.
Yeah. But if I'm also like at the pool or something and I want to have a beer, I would reach for this all day, right? Like, it's so good for the spring or like just day drinking. That's why I brought it today. You know, we're recording in the afternoon on a Sunday. This is something easy to have that, yeah, like hot dogs and hamburgers in this.
Like Sunday morning.
Maybe some shoes. And this beer, excellent. You know, I like beers that you can easily adapt to a good situation. This one, I don't think I could drink it all the time because, yeah, lactose. Be careful.
Yeah, I'm gonna be alright.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's that much. This one doesn't taste actually too sweet, but it does have a pretty big, like, sour note in it.
Speaking of lactose,
it's got
and
a
ice
tart
cream,
for show.
Did y'all see Ben and Jerry's response to everything that's going on right now?
Yep.
I read other people's responses to Ben and Jerry's, but no, I didn't see it.
It basically said "fuck white supremacy."
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
then
I wouldn't expect anything less from Ben and Jerry's. Shout out to Ben and Jerry's.
and then one of the owners of Ben and Jerry's got arrested at protesting.
They always get arrested protesting. That's
Yeah,
like
they were
that's
arrested
about
in-
11 time they've been arrested.
Yeah.
And they just did a new flavor called Resist. This is their new flavor.
Yeah. I thought it was 2 words.
Maybe it might be 2 words, but resist is in that shit. That shit's hard. It might be like peach resist or some shit.
Pecan resist.
Pecan resist.
I think.
Something
like that. But, yeah, I saw that. And
I saw that part. No, you know what? I stay away from statements. I try not to care and try not to idolize, or maybe not even idolize. What would be the word? I try not to I don't know, put anybody, whether they're celebrity or run a business or a politician or just somebody, whatever, right? If it's not somebody that I know personally, I try not to like hold anybody's opinion higher, you know, or like in more regard, or like, so the way that people get real upset at like, 𝗵𝗧𝘂𝗧 said this when they made their reaction, or said this. It's like, I don't even want to care. Like, I don't want to care what LeBron says. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's what you fuck with, go ahead and care. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to care what Warren G think. I don't want to care what 50 Cent think. I don't want to care what Ben and Jerry's think. I don't want to care what Chick-fil-A think. I don't want to care what none of these, you know, I care what my people think. My people around me or anybody are the only people I have influence on. I don't have no influence on those, you know? And watching and reacting and caring about like these just people. They're just dudes that live somewhere else, that did something, sure, that put them on a platform that made them noticeable. That doesn't make them more than just dudes. Like, and so, you know, caring about like Martha Stewart's an ally. Don't care. I don't care. I don't know that lady, and I don't care. Like, why? Why do we care so much? And I'm like more concerned with like, yo, again, I would like to make sure that people are moving together, but like, you know, rallying behind these dudes and these people that are famous for way unrelated reasons or whatever they're, and then them, you know, like caring so much about. Which I don't like. I think it's cool when people do stuff like, you know, shout out to Billy Strings. Billy Strings has been real vocal on social media about the whole joint. And I definitely didn't expect that out of him. So I thought that was, you know, I think that's tight. But like, I'm not out like, you know, proving my point with it. Like, oh yeah, you know, finding people who like Billy Strings and disagree and going, oh, Billy Strings disagrees with you. You know, like it's like such a weird concept to me to care so much about like those dudes, you know? Like, you know, don't care. They're just people. You know what I'm saying? And motherfuckers, I'm not gonna lie, we're stupid. And we can't just be expecting everybody to know everything all the time.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And these celebrities are just like, because they're celebrities, we hold them in this high regard like they're really smart, you know? And they are really smart in what they do, what they know. But like, that's, you know, I don't know, man. It's just such a weird thing to me. And yeah, sorry for the long rant, but that's how I feel about giving a fuck about even whether they're on my side or not. Giving a fuck about people I don't know that are just, you know, famous for ice cream.
Exactly. Yeah, I hear you there.
Which is tight. It's cool. Do your thing, and I commend it. Like, I'm not hating. I just try not to give a fuck about it. Like, at all, you know. I see the funness in the story, but I try not to even like ever let that piece of me go. Like, all right, well, now it's here. It's part of me. I feel like people do that.
I think that's pretty rare among people. I think a lot of people do just tag on to people because of their fame, you know, or will try and justify their views because somebody or like other people also like somebody and they use them in a disagreement of, which I think is just like poor argument skills of just like bringing outside arguments into something because of somebody's fame, not even like credential, right? Because they're not credited with anything important in that. They're just famous. And so, yeah, it is an issue, and I think it's not easy to avoid. I think like you are well versed in the internet, better than most people. So I think you probably know how to like, I think you know how to sniff out some of the other things too, of just being like, being able to just like move on, seen this before. Like you've also like, internet's pretty filled with lots of patterns and like how people act. And like, I know that you've seen memes, like how that like has grown or popularity, but it's all kind of just recursive, right? It all happens again and again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like I just wanted to rant longer now. I'm not sure exactly what my point was, but you went on such a long rant that I had to jump in there.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
I'm just kidding.
I appreciate your input.
Yeah,
man.
It's sometimes people just have those people to look up to. they don't have like the experts in whatever or like the people that are actually really knowledgeable about the topic. It's just like, I fuck with Kendall Jenner hard, and she cured racism with a Pepsi. That's all I know. So like, I think that's why it on some level, I think it's cool for them to make those statements, because it's not for us, it's for the people like that like really look up to those. Like,
well, I will tell you that on Facebook and shit, fucking nowadays, I do, besides last week when all this shit went down, I do very minimal arguing anymore and debating and shit. And anybody who's been my Facebook friend for a while knows that that used to definitely not be true. And I was down to just argue with everybody about everything all the time. A few times that put me in a position where I was arguing with people who weren't trying to argue with me, and I fucked up, and I had to learn to get past that and not do that to people. But in all them arguments, a lot of times, man, my argument was just like that people didn't seem to care about what was going on. And I was like, I always felt like that was my point. My point was always, I was screaming and begging for other motherfuckers to care. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, like, somebody else give a fuck. Like, all this shit is going on. This is going on. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. These people are doing this. These people are doing this. Everybody's calling each other each sides, but y'all ain't paying attention. What the fuck? And I remember I was doing that shit for a gang, and nobody listened to me. Dude, people used to get annoyed. I still get the memories around October for Columbus Day. And when they come through, I see the ones from 13 years ago, 12 years ago, 11 years ago, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And you could literally watch the progression as people went from like so annoyed and so pissed off that I was saying anything to agreeing with me, to a couple years ago tagging me when Denver got Indigenous Peoples Day, and then tagging me in all the different cities and places that do it, or and all this, and like this whole movement of people that like agree now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think like we forget about how the time like goes over. And right now is a time where everybody's really pissed off. And it's really hard for me to be the one to be like, this is y'all have never been like everybody cared at once before. You know what I mean? And it almost feels like my fight is done, because my goal was to make people care, and now people seem to care more. And then so in that's what needed to be done, because you can't care by yourself. If people don't back you, nothing changes. But once everybody starts to care, shit changes. And it's a weird thing now that I'm here, and then people are like, you got to get vocal, and people are like all mad at other people for not getting vocal. And I'm like, I'm not going to keep getting vocal. I'm not going to keep posting stuff and making my timeline negative as hell. I've been saying this shit for 20 years. You know what I'm saying? I've been saying this shit for 15 years. I've been online spreading this shit forever. And I got the memories to prove it. I don't got nothing to prove to you. And I did my job. Y'all paying attention now. You talk. You say something. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's your turn. Shit. Yeah. Anyways, that's how I feel sometimes on the line. And fuck all them celebrities. They don't know shit. They're just dudes. That's why I hate following them. You follow them on Twitter, you follow them on Instagram, you get these little stories, and all of a sudden you start to learn who these people are. And I hate most of them. Like, fuck, you're such a weird dude. Like, not like a weird, like, not that I don't like weird people. There's so much more egotistical than I ever thought artists were. I always had this idea that artists were like, the majority of artists were like selfless in like in an artistic sense, Mm-hmm. And so even when like there was like stuff about like being extra egotistical on songs, I always felt like it was way more flex, and it was way more like, you know what I mean, of like a social thing than it was so selfishly I'm tight, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know where that perspective came from, but that's in my mind. That's the way I always assumed it was. And then we got Twitter, and we find out how like dumb these motherfuckers are, and how selfish they are, and how they don't give a fuck about shit. And you're like, man, I don't even like you. Now it makes me not want to listen to your music. Like I liked your music before I didn't know you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the same thing with like, that's why I try not to pay attention to none of these things, because I don't want to be like, oh man, somebody I like said the wrong thing and then had to apologize and said the wrong thing again. And you're like, this whole thing going on. And I'm like, why do we care? Why do we care what that fool says about that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, just listen to Contagious and move on. We don't need to listen to Ronald Isley's political views. Shit.
Well, I mean, I hear you there, Justin, but when shit like that, when people like JK Rowling do come up and say something like that, I think it is kind of important to like know that that's going on, right? Because she wrote books that, you know, lots of children read. She's made tweets like this before. Yeah, she's made some kind of controversial tweets about I think it's, what are they called out there? The Labor Party.
But specifically about sex and gender, too. She's made these kind of things before. And, I mean, I think that there's way too quick of this trigger to, like, once you're triggered, you're painted this thing and that thing is evil and you're stupid and your morals are wrong.
But like
and
you said, she's done this multiple times. She's painted this picture again and again. Like,
the picture, but
it's pretty clear those are her morals.
No, but the picture is the same, and I agree, is what I'm saying. And that's why it's hard to agree with that. Because it's hard to agree with that because then you paint me as evil. But I'm not being evil. I'm talking about science, and we're talking about sex, and we're talking about the difference between sex and gender, and we're talking about the differences between genders and how human beings are go. Sure, people can. I'm 100% not against LGBT all the letters. Y'all use as many letters as you want. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what anybody does. You do whatever you want to do. I'm 100% for however you feel. I know that brains are all wired differently. So why wouldn't there be different brains that feel different ways, that feel different genders, that identify different ways? Sure, go that whole way. That's not what sex is. And what she's talking about is a basic sex fact. And because of what it is, she has to reiterate something else. And when the moment she tries to reiterate that, you paint that as like you're staring at it through this lens of like anytime there's anything critical about what somebody says that they're trying to be progressive, that it's wrong. And it's like, well, no, sometimes there's shit that goes so far, you start leaving the realm of what's real and you start moving into like redefining words. Redefining the shit. And it's like, well, no, you don't have to do that. Like, that's not part of it. Like, none of that matters. But what it does affect is women. And that's not a
what do you mean it affects women?
By getting rid of like the lines, not the lines, but the idea that there is a difference between sexes. Mm-hmm. Alleviating that because some people are wired differently. Sure, I'm wired differently. I'm not. Everybody wired differently than everybody else. There's different ways. There's different all kinds of stuff. Now, like I'm not like again, I hate that. And see, once I throw that in, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, like you must be. And it's like, no, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. But to lie to me and say that there's not a difference between a human being whose genetics makes more of a particular hormone, and because of that DNA grows particular different parts and then to say that those are the exact same thing no matter what, because the brains are wired differently. So now it's the same thing. You're blurring lines and you're taking stuff away. You're taking away real facts because of the sense that you feel excluded out of this thing, this dynamic that we have defined. Sure, we probably have to redefine how male and female works. Right? We had always assumed it was one basic thing, one thing else, and everybody else, something was wrong with you. And we realized that's not the way it is. So, okay, maybe we need to work on the definitions of those types of things. But still, the idea that they're not the same, or that they're the same, and that there's like no differences between these things. gets rid of all of the women's rights that were fought for over and won over the last 100 years. Because then you're saying that stuff's not real. And when, again, that's the basis of her tweet. But she can't say that stuff because without long-winded explanations and anybody that are even willing to listen to the perspective, you're painted as a
transphobe.
As a transphobe. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah, I definitely can't really speak on a tweet I heard read aloud once. I'm not that kind of learner. But yeah,
let's read it again.
I mean, I definitely agree with you in terms of definitions. If we want to if we're going to bring science into this and define things scientifically, I think gender is something that we need to separate from sex. And I think most people can, but most people don't, and they can't see those arguments and different things and understand that gender is a construct. And even to a point, so is sex. But
everything is, because it's just an observation.
Exactly. Right. And so I think the most important thing that I heard you say was knowing that maybe we don't need to delete them, but expand them. Right. Because when we learn things about science, we have to adapt them. And when we learn all these things about how people do grow with certain hormones and chromosomes, and where there could be this one and that one in different cases, where before we thought it was pretty simple, way simpler when these words were coined to define these things and these categories were put in. So when we talk about categories of boy or girl, right, those were two places and that's kind of just what the data saw from hundreds of years of not knowing science for real, not getting down to the nitty gritty of science and being able to see what's going on inside a body. Right. So It made sense for then, but we still use it after years and years and years of understanding that it's a little bit more complex than boy, girl, Yeah. And so expanding these definitions.
But it would be facetious to act like the DNA is not at least programmed to try to make one or the other.
Well,
and while we understand the lines of that DNA is not perfect, and because of that, you get lots of people, way more than just a couple little things. Lots of people that their DNA didn't make that particular choice left or right, or made different, it flipped different switches, and because of that, they're naturally a specific thing, But I don't know.
Sex is a different thing as well. Sex, we're talking about, male or female.
That's what I was talking about.
And I just wanted to make sure that we're setting that clear for everybody. That sex and even what she was talking about is a little different than the gender argument, right? And that's why I would have to hear it again. I'd probably need to read it and think about it more. But you want to just hit it with me one more time, see if I can make any more sense of the whole thing?
I'll read it and then read two of the follow-ups after that. If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth. Follow-up is the idea that women like me, who've been empathetic to trans people for decades, feeling kinship because they're vulnerable in the same ways as women, i.e. to make violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequences, is nonsense. And I respect every trans person's rights to live in any way that feels authentic and comfortable to them. I'd march with you if you were discriminated against on the basis of being trans. At the same time, my life has been shaped by being a female. I do not believe it is hateful to say so.
I completely agree.
Yeah, again, that was a lot more than I expected. And I don't think I can jump out and say I completely agree or I completely disagree. Again, I think it's very nuanced. But the first question I have is, who's asking for the elimination of sex?
I'm sure you could find, if you look for the article, somebody wrote an article on it because people make articles on tweets now. Isn't that fucking weird? They just wait for people to tweet. And then you have a new article that people are going to go to your website for. Fucking weird. Anyways, if you find the article, I'm sure somebody will show you what thing she's responding to, or what somebody said recently, or what came out in London in the paper that says something. She'll be responding to something. She's not just deciding one day to just say all this, because she was responding to something the last time she did it. And the last time she did that, she said a similar sentiment. And it was about sex. And I didn't disagree with her then. I don't remember if I agreed, but I didn't disagree with her. And I remember everybody was real mad. I remember everybody, that was why I saw it, because everybody was real mad, went and read it. And I read it and was like, well, that doesn't piss me off. That sounds like a rational thought.
I don't know. So, I mean, just like I said, I don't know if I can speak to like the truths or like blah, blah, blah about what she's saying. What it feels like to me, like from what I hear, what it feels like to me is the same kind of like bullshit feminism that's like, I agree with what you have to say, but on my terms, right? And that's like me saying to a black person in the same way, where if we equated race or like the struggle with black people with the struggle for women or for trans rights or for any of these rights that we're talking about, LGBTQ and continued, like if we're going to be in these spaces as like a subsidiary of them, especially like, or as an ally to these people, which it sounds like she's trying to say, I'm an ally. But then we want to say, I'm an ally, but on my terms. On my terms for your movement, I'm an ally for you, but it's only on my terms, and these are my terms. And boom, because like you can be a part of that, think the way she does, and still not try and take away from a movement of people you're saying you're supporting, right? Like that's not support. When you're saying like, you know, I support you on my terms and my terms only, but I support you. I'll march with you if your rights are being marginalized, which they are all the time as trans people. It's just a erased part of people's mind in the media. Like they don't mention trans people. Like they are abused at like some of the highest rates in the sex working industry of like where they're the most vulnerable. And it's terrible, but it's like people don't like to talk about trans and transphobia but they've been a really crucial part of our country. You know, the riots that were started in LA happened because of a black trans woman, you know, and they're really important part. And I get a little, you know, worked up talking about this because it's hard to be an ally. I get that. And we're all learning how to do it as, you know, some of us are learning how to do that as best we can as white people and as feminists, as anything. And feminism is a tough thing too when you're a man, because I don't have a voice in the realm of feminism, like, right? Because that's another space for not a cisgendered male to come into and start saying, this is how it needs to be, right? And the same way that she's coming into a space saying, I'm this and this has served my life this way, and I'm only going to support you guys. Well, I'll support you, but this is really how I feel. And so that's how I feel. And it just reeks of the same kind of like phony feminism that I see from tons of women and men around the world. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all, because I don't think it's true like activism. I think it's, like I said, phony, like a phony feminism, or one that just fits their narrative. And a lot of times these people are white women and white people just in general that are the ones that are the most phony and like wearing fucking pink pussy hats at women's marches and shit, you know, and taking all the pictures on the gram. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. And it's not that, but it reeks of that same feeling to me as those fucking pictures that I see online from people who never say nothing until they get to go wear a cute hat at a parade.
That's how the author of Harry Potter makes you feel?
I mean, I don't see Harry Potter as like
the author of Harry Potter, of a billionaire who gave all of her money to charity once she hit $1 billion. She's famous for...
You just got done telling me about checking people for their fame and not listening to them for all this shit. I'm just giving my opinion of this, what she just had to say.
But that's what I'm telling you, is that you're telling me that she's famous for all of that. And because she's famous there, somehow now she reeks of the same thing as those girls that are trying to get attention because of something?
No.
You just said, you said the pussy hats and the ones getting the pictures for the gram. Those are people that are crying for attention. They want attention. They want all of it as much as they can, and they're doing their best to get it, right? So they go out there and they do these extra things and, oh, Black Lives Matter. And then they stand there and then go and they walk into the protest and take a picture and this and that. Or they're in the Women's March with a big old pussy hat for attention so that people will take pictures of them and maybe they'll go viral. And so you're telling me that it's the same mentality. That's what JK Rowling has? The author of Harry Potter.
No.
Who doesn't need any help getting attention.
No. I don't think, and so I think what you're saying is not wrong. I just think I'm looking at a little bit bigger picture of that, of not just that they want attention, but they're seeking attention for this movement or taking this movement of like, you know.
That movement's not even happening right now. There's an entire other movement going on.
Yeah. Again, why is she bringing this up right now? And like you said, maybe she's responding to somebody else.
I'm sure she is. Why would you assume she's not?
Because I don't know her. I don't follow her. Know her.
Well, if you spend any time on Twitter, because if you spend any time on Twitter, you know that people aren't just talking. A lot of times, even if they're saying stuff relevant to what's going on, relevant to something they just watched, relevant to something and typically they let everybody know what they're watching or what they're doing, or unless it's already obvious. So if everybody's watching the VMAs, you don't got to tweet that you're watching the VMAs to start commenting on it. If everybody's watching fucking the debates, you don't have to hashtag the debates and let everybody know if you say fuck that fool, he's on some bullshit, that you talking about the dudes in the debates. So it's like Twitter is a place. And so obviously you could take the tweets and then all of a sudden she's out of context. Like as if she was sitting in her house, decided I'm going to get ready today. Got ready, got all of her stuff, walked out, got in front of the podium and said, excuse me, I'll give you guys 30 minutes and then you guys come and wait and I have something to say. And then she waits for everybody to show up and then just says something, turns around, walk back in her house. Like she's on a community platform, doing community things, having community conversations. You know what I'm saying? You have to assume that she's responding to something else. Everybody is. That would be weird not to.
Sure. I mean, it just, what we're responding to, yeah, it would be pretty significantly strange and kind of evil to just like, you know what's really grinding my gears today, and just bring it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Nobody does
that. And I'm not
that.
saying she did. Like, I just don't know JK Rowling at all beyond watching some movies and reading like half of a couple of books. You know, and so like I was saying, when I say it kind of stinks, I don't mean like that attention in terms of just like the grasp for attention, but it's in like within a movement of like feminism or Me Too. And that one's I mean, that's a whole different thing too than just feminism in general. I'm not trying to say those are the same things. But I think, you know, when things are co-opted by people who want to appear as a feminist or appear as this thing, but aren't really, like, their views actually don't support, or what they do and their actions don't support the actual movement they're saying they do, right? But they want to appear that they do. And so that's when they show up in that hat or whatever it wants to be. Or that's when a white person shows up and tries to be an ally, but really just ends up fucking shit up because they're doing whatever they want to do.
Is that the assumption you have anytime anybody makes a statement that you've never heard make a statement before?
My assumption of what?
That they're trying to get some kind of attention.
No. I don't think this is about attention. Like, nothing that I'm trying to say is about attention.
Or they're trying to co-opt somebody else's movement for their own
personal
feeling. Okay,
yeah.
So you think that's what's going on anytime that somebody speaks out about something that you haven't heard speak out about yet?
No. I'm not saying that, and I never said that.
Well, I'm asking if that's.
I just said no. Like, no, I don't think that all the time. But like I said, when I'm hearing this, that's the first impression that I started to get around hearing what she had to say. A lot of like, I support you, but on these terms. I support you, but on these terms. I support you, but on these terms. And that's just, I think that's counterproductive to a movement, even if you're responding on things, because you can still support a movement, have those views, and just be quiet about them. You can just be like, I support you.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
I support you. Period.
But what if there's a movement that starts off as, let's call it getting to the moon. And so a movement starts and people start pushing to get to the moon. And then after all this stuff happens, people get loud enough, boom, people start going to the moon. I forgot what you were talking about, so I forgot where I was going with that analogy. Shit. What were you just saying?
Well, I think the basic point was people outside the community saying that they'll support another community, but only on their terms.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So imagine this movement starts, and the movement goes, and now the movement is solely responsible for making the rockets and getting everybody to the moon. But about halfway through the movement, shit keeps going, and it starts to become, let's bomb the moon, let's get rid of the moon. And it's like, well, then you're going to get a split down the middle of that movement where you're like, all right, well, some of us think it's a good idea, let's bomb the moon. Some of us think like, nah, man, what happened? We were just going to the moon, right? And then some people still don't even understand what the moon is. They're still just trying to figure out how to, whether they understand what's going on or not, right? And I know this analogy's weird. Roll with me for a second.
You're on thin ice, buddy.
No, just roll with me on the analogy.
I am. And your analogy's on thin ice, buddy.
What's on thin ice?
Your analogy. God, buddy. Are you listening?
Why is it on thin ice?
Because the things you're talking about are a choice of support, and we're not talking about people.
What I'm talking about is that you're taking one movement that is for trans people, and it's for trans rights, it's for trans understanding, and it's for trans uplifting.
You can finish your analogy.
And you take all of that going, and then all of a sudden, because of it, you start going farther. And you start going into genders, and genders are cuckoo, of course. Take them. That's a construct. We're weird, right? Let's work on how we define gender and what that means. Go for it. But sex is not to be redefined, right? Not in that kind of sense. You can't just absolve it because it hurts your feelings. Like it's not about feelings there. We're talking about real observations. Now, scientifically, you'd like to make more observations and talk about sex in an observed way. Let's talk about it. But people are just saying that those are just words because it hurts their feelings because they started with gender and they don't know the difference between gender and sex. So then it moves into sex, which is wrong. But they want you to either be for it or not. If you're not for us continuing forward and making more radical decisions, then you're against us. And it's like, no, I was with you all the way up until here. And then you started talking about like change. Again, I'm with you with genders. I'm just not with you with changing sex. And again, I'm not changing sex, but eradicating the idea of sexes. And because again, for whatever reasons, that's not real. We're talking about scientific observations. Dicks exist and pussies exist. I don't want to hear that there's no difference. I want to observe and find out the differences and then define them. Sure, let's define them, whatever. But let's not play this game because it hurts your feelings. And I don't like that. And that's what many movements do. To be honest, I think they slightly just did it to the mayor of Minneapolis today or yesterday. And he's standing there with them, and they're having, they're doing the protest, and he's up there with his mask, no cops around, no nothing. The mayor's there, and he's there, and he's like front row of the protest while they're like, they have the mic, they're talking, and he's there in support, And then they turn around, and in front of everybody, they ask him if he's down to abolish the police. It's the mayor. And he tries to turn around and was like, well, I'm not going to just abolish, but we could definitely do some reform. We could try to change. We could work on some. Let's do something. But it just come around and say I get that that's somebody's answer, but you've got to see that nobody else is going to agree with that. And if that's your answer, you're never going to get anywhere. And not only that, you've now ostracized a dude that was trying to understand stuff, whether for political, whatever, blah, blah, woo-de-woo. I tell you right now, you spend a bunch of time with a bunch of protesters, you don't feel the same way about protesters as you did when you were just watching them on TV. So regardless of his purpose there, he's making progress doing stuff. And it's like, we should be educating these people. It's like, well, look, you see how you were wrong about this? Let me show you some other things that you might be wrong about so that we can make progress. Boom, bang. But to just ostracize him, that's what he's going to say. He's not going to say that. That's the same thing Kendrick Lamar did to that white girl on stage when he brought her up knowing that his next word was the N-word and made her say it and then threw her on blast for saying it. Like, that's whack. And you're doing that now to the mayor who's at least, again, regardless of whatever reasons, blah, blah, woo-de-woo, you should be trying to have a conversation with this dude. Because this is where you enact change. You've now got the mayor's attention. Like, enact some change. And now you're going so far, and the whole crowd did it to him. And I don't care if the whole crowd does it to him. If that's the case, I'm walking out of that crowd, or I'm at least standing behind and I'm being silent. I'm not supporting that part of the crowd. And if somebody turns around and tells me that you're an asshole and you don't support Black Lives Matter because you didn't tell the mayor to abolish fucking the police station in front of all the, like, in front of the world, knowing he was going to say no, like, no, dude, I don't think that's how I don't think that's how actual progress is going to be made. Sure, you made a political statement, and that's cool too. Maybe some progress is made through a political statement. That's fine. I get it. But just rationally, I want to teach motherfuckers. I want to educate dudes so that they stop feeling those ways against us. They stop feeling that hatred, and they learn otherwise, and they learn new perspectives. We can't do that if we ostracize them and make them feel stupid, and then they never come back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you're right in terms that there's a platform for each of those opportunities, and saying abolish the police in front of live television on people, because you're not that what you're talking about isn't going to happen in front of those people anyway either, right? Reform and change of education, that's not going to happen on the steps of anywhere, him sitting there with nobody. That'll happen hopefully in the future. But the most effective action is to call them out and see how they respond, because it's not saying like, hey, you have to respond like, will you abolish the police? And your answer has to be yes or no. You're a politician. You should have that shit crafted and ready to go. And I'm judging you on your response, whether it's positive, negative, none. Like I'm waiting for a response to see how you do respond, because I understand their position as a mayor being thrown under the bus like that. But when you have seconds to make a statement, I'm in support of it.
I get it, but what you did is you lost the support of that dude. And you had a moment where you could have had that dude in support. Now, maybe you gain more support over it. Maybe it is worth more, right? Maybe ostracizing that dude publicly and losing his support is better for your movement and gain. I don't know. And that could absolutely be true. I'm not negating that idea, like, for sure. 100% could be. I'm just saying, I've done some convincing. Yo, my job is, a lot of it is explaining to people stuff that they already don't understand. And I'll tell you right now, talking shit to them has never worked. And I've slapped a lot of people mentally and stuck them like that and talked shit to them and hit them with that knife. And in my mind, all the other people who read got it. That's not true. I was an asshole, and motherfuckers all saw that I was the other people that didn't agree with me didn't turn around and understand me now. They saw me being an asshole. And now they stopped fucking with, they might have even almost been listening. And now they stopped fucking with me because I was an asshole. And they took this other guy's side, who's never going to be on my side because I was an asshole to him. And now you'll notice I argue entirely different now, and I try my hardest to be real cool, like, and understanding and going, because that's not how, because now I've actually helped people find new perspectives. I've taken people from, I have a friend who went from thinking that white privilege wasn't a thing to 100% understanding it. And it took nothing more than a car ride and me having a normal conversation with him, not doing that to him, not acting funny, and empathizing with him and showing him a situation where he could understand. And then all of a sudden, it literally flipped his entire perspective. He went from being somebody who thought it didn't exist his whole life to somebody who understood it and almost felt like remorse for not understanding it before. You would have never got that way by ostracizing him or anybody that he's on the side with. And that's not the way it works. And I get that I get the political statement, and I'm not going to say that it won't work. I'm just saying it's never worked for me that way. And and I'm high to convincing people of things they don't, they convince, again, not convincing people to do things they don't want to do, convincing people of perspectives that they were earlier not willing to understand.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah.
And it's never worked by being a dick. Ever.
And I don't know. I don't think the person who said, will you abolish the police is a dick. I don't think that's a dick question, like, to ask somebody, because
I do.
I mean,
people are smarter than that. They know he was going to say no. They know
yes,
that they were doing. Yeah. They set him up.
They didn't ask him to say yes, but
they
just saying,
set him up. You were like, man, hey, come be cool
with us. Softball setup. Like, he could have knocked that out of the park if he was ready to. And
I don't know. You haven't seen the video. He could not have. And nah, man.
And maybe
it was a setup. And man, it was a setup. Go ahead.
I don't know. And a lot of this shit is set up, and who the fuck knows, like, what Tim, whatever his name is really thinking and doing and feeling, and what is true, and what's he's just doing what he's told, you know? And I don't know. I don't know that place well anymore.
No, that was just, I meant that as an example, because in the same way of JK Rowling, if somebody takes something too far, I don't agree. And that doesn't make me not an ally. It just means I don't agree.
It's just hard to, like, I mean, when you're like when you're on Twitter doing something and when you're in front of like
She's in London on lockdown. What is she gonna leave London? It's illegal.
These people are at a protest and like asking for something in unison, right? And after a tragedy that has happened, and not the first time, like asking
We're
to
not talking about
abolish.
JK Rowling anymore.
No, we're talking about because you're equating that like being on Twitter and saying like shit on Twitter to the same thing as like.
No, I'm not equating.
But
those,
I hear like
I'm not equating. No,
but I just they're
see,
hard to.
You take the two different things that we're talking about, like the two protests or the two movements, and you're telling me like I'm equating those. I'm not equating those. I'm equating going too far. I'm equating taking something too far, and if I don't agree, that doesn't not make me an ally.
Again, and I think I've been.
I just don't agree that that's the best way to do it.
I think I've said multiple times tonight or today that you can be that ally, hold those views, and just shut the fuck up about them, though, and still be an ally. But when you come out and you need to say like, "But this is my piece, and I need to have my voice heard for what I think about a group that I'm not involved in." And that, I mean, I get she does feel threatened. Like she feels like her group of people is being threatened. I'd have to read into that part of what she's saying in there a little deeper around like what you were saying with like disrespect and like canceling out a movement that has been monumentally important to the world. And you know that I like again, I have to read into more of that.
Either.
Again, yes.
There's a lot of places where women they're definitely not giving a fuck if anybody's trans or not. Women don't have the rights of a normal person. Like the average person in America. We're talking about like men get a few more rights and this and that, but women definitely don't have any around there. There's places in the Middle East where women can't drive still. You know what I mean? Like it's nuts.
Yeah, significantly different cultures. Significantly.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean,
But
and
even
rights
those
and
cultures
are
have
oppressed
made,
and
even those cultures have made huge leaps and bounds in progress as far as social dynamics. Now, sure,
they
when
operate
compared
on
to us,
different timelines.
yeah, and when compared to us here in America, sometimes it's like we feel like, oh shit, like they're behind. Which sure, in moral and ethical aspect, as we understand it, they probably are behind. But culturally, they're still making leaps and bounds from where they were 200 years ago. In the same way we're making leaps and bounds from where we were 200 years ago. Everybody's moving their different paces. Everybody's culture allows for different paths to this place. But our culture allowed for the path for women. And I have definitely heard before the idea that like that's all cool and everything, but it was, pointless because there's no difference and we're all everything the same. And it's like this far thing. And it's like, well, I feel like, and I'm sure that's not what you mean, but I feel like when you say like, on your own terms, it's like, well, then that means that I like anything on my own terms because I do have my own morals and I do have my own ethics. And I am not going to cross those morals just because an entire group feels otherwise about it.
So then don't support the group. And if you want to, if you feel that way, then don't support the group.
No,
or just
but because I support the group, because
then let them be.
Yeah, but if there's 15 things that they're for, and I'm for 14 of them, and number 15, I just don't think that's cool. I can't just fuck with you and be like, you know what? I don't agree with this part.
I don't know. I think
do I have to make a whole new movement that are like that's the 15ers or the 14ers?
But wouldn't it be a lot more constructive to be like, instead of being like, hey, 1 through 14, cool, love you, respect all y'all for that. But number 15, I don't agree with. And I just want you to know that I don't agree with. I don't know how you guys actually live. I'm not one of you. But I just want to say 15 is wrong. But so you can do that, or you can say, hey, I'm an ally. 1 through 14, boom, perfect, makes sense. Number 15, you guys need to help me understand, because right now it doesn't make any fucking sense to me what you're saying. It doesn't make any.
And what if it never makes sense? What if 15 is nonsense?
Then you choose to not support them, right? If that's so foundational to you that one thing out of 15 will break your support.
Oh man.
I mean, what do you mean, man? Like if you don't like something that's foundationally wrong with because it's not like
that's
those
not
1
even
through
foundational.
15.
That's extreme. Getting rid of sex is extreme.
Again, have we
Do
found
you agree
anything?
with that?
Have we found anything that says where this was prompted from, Eric?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Anything?
I've definitely heard that before.
It's just tweets about her.
I've never heard that from before. I've never heard anybody calling for the abolishing sex as like.
You don't follow enough right wingers. They always fucking find the most extreme shit the left is doing and then throw their shit on blast.
Because I do follow a good amount of they are feminists that I respect. So it is an echo chamber in one way or another, but they're very like trans forward, like people who are all about the trans movements. And I've never heard for this. I've never heard for it. And so I would love to hear where it's coming from, because I've never heard for this. And even if it is as one of their like bullet line points, if you don't agree with it, then and you still want to support them, just be silent. Then in that case, just be like, I hope that all works out. Like just let them be.
No, I'm not.
Like, why do you have to speak against it if you still want to say I support you and you disagree with part of it, and you can't really come to
because you want to make sure people
acceptance.
know that you don't support that part that you feel is wrong.
Why?
Why? Because you're publicly supporting something. So in the same way that when I made that statement about looters and murder, and my entire argument was that I don't fucking I don't condone looting or rioting. I don't think that that's the way to do it. I don't say that people should. I'm not confused by it, but I'm not doing it. I had to make that. You're telling me it doesn't matter how many times I say that statement. Once I say that statement, I must hate all protests? That's ridiculous. You see how that's like these.
I don't understand your extrapolation there, Justin. Like
what's to extrapolate, bro? You're taking one thing, and it's like if you don't agree with every single piece of something, you can't be. It's like, yo, how many Christians are Christians but don't agree with every single piece of something, or something their priest said, or whatever. Everything is up for its own interpretation, and people are free to feel things. And if I support your entire movement except for this one little piece I think goes too far, to be honest, I feel almost responsible as somebody in the group to be like, hey, this piece ain't a little too far. Maybe we should talk about it.
Let's play with some more analogies. So I'm sitting in fucking mass, right? And somebody gets up there and reads the word of God, and then at the end of it pauses and says, I just want you guys to know that last part is wrong. And Father
𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗯𝗃 did that all the time in mass, and he used to read the entire thing. He would use political subjects all the time. My mom used to love this dude, and he used to use political subjects all the time, whatever was going on in the world. And then he'd go out there, he'd find a passage that would either agree or disagree with what he said. He'd always find one in particular, and if it agreed, he would talk about why it was this and not the other way. And if it disagreed, he would talk about why that was wrong and why it was why it's different, and the real God-loving way would to feel empathetic or to do other things or to be something else. 100%. So maybe
he's taking the word of God and doing that, or he's taking outside sources?
No, he's taking the word of God. The word of God he read. He's a priest. He read from the Bible. This is an old man. And again, this was back when I was a Catholic. I remember Father 𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗯𝗃. Darren will know him. Shout out. And I'll tell you right now, he don't do it anymore because he's either RIP'd, I'm not entirely sure, or old as fuck. But in whatever case, that was a long time ago, but he used to always do that. So you know what? Maybe maybe my ethics and my morals are set wrong because of all these different influences I had about not just being okay with what the crowd is doing and following your ethics and your own morals and your own values. And sometimes those things may clash. And if you have to stand by yourself, you stand by yourself.
Sure.
And that's something I've always felt. And because of that, that's why I've always felt so heavily about all of the movements I've ever backed. And I'm on Team Human Being. I don't care what gender you identify as. I don't care what race you identify as. I don't care what nationality you identify as. I don't care what patch of soil you were born on or whatever. I'm for Team Humanity. 100%. And if that means right now in America there's a systematic fucking problem, that means right now Black Lives Matter. The most. All the other ones are taken care of right now as far as that's concerned. Not all of them. But Black Lives right now is the big subject. So let's run with it. I'm with it. Boom. Like, let's do it. Black Lives Matter. But if we get to the point where Black Lives Matter means that that we have to be cool with setting up the mayor who is... Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm trying to understand something. It seemed trying. Those dudes that are doing political statements don't show up by themselves. He was by himself. You saw Mayor Hancock walk with our dudes, and there's guards all around him. Police all following. This mayor was by himself in Minneapolis. The craziest one. He's out there trying to do something. trying to connect, trying to understand, trying to empathize, trying to learn, trying to do whatever. But it's going to turn into something else, I promise, if he spends a little bit of time there. That's all it takes, because those people are not bad people. Those protesters are not bad protesters. He'll learn real quick. And then there he is learning. And he's feeling different. And his fucking, his perspective is changing. And then they go throw him under the bus. If they told me that was, I had to support that, or else I can't support Black Lives Matter. Like, that's trash. I can't just say like, no, I fuck with everything. And I'm not even mad at whatever. I just don't think that was the best idea. I can't say that without like, now I'm against everybody? Such a whack mentality.
Fuck you for
fuck tribalism. Fuck all y'all tribes and your tribalism.
Fuck you for just saying that. It, like, we can't. I hear what you're saying, Justin. I hear that you're telling me that I'm closed-minded because I think other people can't have a voice in movements. And I also hear you saying that the learning experience of being called out about abolishing the police is still negative, when it's like that was a learning experience for him too, and that's all it was meant to be, right? You're not looking for him to say yes. You know he's not going to say yes. He shouldn't even say yes or no.
You're being a dick. You're ostracizing him, and you're going to make him so that he doesn't.
Like, sorry, Mayor Tim.
Well, he's the motherfucker that can help you. What are you going to do now? Then fucking you might as well hang him and get rid of him and replace him with somebody else.
Wow, I think that went from 0 to 60.
Well, lynch his ass and get rid of him. What the fuck? Why is it 0 to nothing? If you're going to give a fuck, then fucking abolish the police and go lynch him and get rid of it. Or else you got to work with these motherfuckers. And we have to figure out how to do this shit politically.
Yeah.
Right? Well, they were there trying to figure shit out politically. I was just talking about how tight it is that more people have a voice than ever before. And now we have a voice and we're using it to fucking just piss on the other team and mark a winning mark on our side. Got one. Bow. Got his ass. And you did. You got him. But now he ain't going to listen. And that was the most important city.
We've been told to shut up soon, but I don't know, man. I was just letting him finish. Let you finish. I mean, I'm just more open to it because I think abolish the police sounds fucking so radical, but
I'm not even against abolish the police. I'm not. I'm telling you that if we're with fucking just ostracizing the dudes that are supposed to help. And
when that learning experience, and like I've never seen this video. I don't know which one you're talking about. I don't know who's doing this. The things I do know is Black Lives Matter has that movement. If that's the movement that you're behind, the only thing that they've co-opted into that, from what I've seen, is defund the police, which would be a much more fair thing to come up to him and do. But again, like, I'm not gonna go out and tell people that they're wrong for saying abolish the police either. Whether you would,
neither am I. Because I'm not calling nobody wrong for nothing. I'm just saying I don't agree, and if I don't agree, I can't be on the team.
And I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying at that point, sit down, be quiet. Then,
like,
just
I'm on
you
the Broncos. I'm on the Broncos. I'm on the Broncos, and we're about to run for fourth, and I'm like, hey man, maybe we should just punt and try again. I can't just say that and turn around and be like, get off the team.
You're on the Broncos, though. That's different. Being on, if you were on the fucking other team and said some shit, yeah, then you'd be like, get off.
Yeah, you got it. Uh-huh.
But
I'll find
and maybe for mayor of Minneapolis to really start to be like, you know what, maybe abolish the police isn't as radical as I thought. Maybe it's something. Maybe I should hear further what they're saying, because a lot of the abolish the police arguments.
Who does that?
Lots of people.
Who does that after
when
being
they hear a crowd of
publicly?
people when they hear a crowd of people chanting something at them, when before they're like, this is radical and isn't real in my city, and then a crowd of people that are from their city sit there and chant it at them, they might give it a little bit more credit at that point.
Next week when he calls in the military, I want to hear you say that same shit.
I mean, because his failure to not listen is not devaluing my argument. So if he's just a piece of shit anyway and goes and sends in, which I think maybe that'll happen. It might be more probable to happen that some worse shit is going to happen, that all that really wasn't anything more than optics.
I don't agree. And I fuck with Black Lives Matter.
There's nothing that I'm agreeing with here either. I'm just saying... I don't know what's going to happen. I don't trust any of the mayors anywhere right now. I don't know what to even look for. I don't know what trust means. A lot of these people in these positions, it seems like, I don't know if they have control.
Whew. Whoa, that was tight.
Sorry, it's a Trump ad. I'm trying to pull up that clip.
Goddamn, I got music now, boy. That must be did I just die? That's them chanting to the mayor to leave. Pull the clip when they ask him.
If you're asking whether I'm for massive structural reform to revise a structurally racist system, the answer is yes. If you're asking whether I will do everything possible to push back on the inherent inequities that are literally built into the architecture, the answer is yes. If you're asking whether I'm willing to do everything I possibly can throughout the rest of my term to make sure that the police union, the police contract, the arbitration system, and some of these policies that have resulted in problems specifically for black and brown people, and murder, by the way, over a series of generations, I'm all for that. I'm not for abolishing the entire police department.
I don't know how I got to play the audio, but
no, that was I didn't hear his response, and isn't that exactly what I said that he could have been feeling? And again, sure, hopefully he doesn't just fucking turn around and be all fucking whack about it. But man, you put him in the position to do that, and that shit's whack.
You should be ready to. If you're a
political
person,
if
guess what? That's politics, buddy.
Yeah, but if he feels like that,
public protest, public forums.
You don't think it would have been more powerful though if they gave him the platform for 30 seconds to say that?
Don't you think he's been given the platform, and if he wanted it, he could have taken it? Right? He's the fucking mayor.
Why would he take the platform? You just said he can't take the platform.
So then why are you offering to give it to him?
He's at the protest and he's trying to be an ally. You give him a small platform and be like, you got 30 seconds to explain why you're here, bro, or else I don't fucking trust you. What are you doing here? What's up? And if he gets up, he's like, here, look, man, I've seen a few fucking signs of that. You guys think I'm getting ready to the police? I can't just do that. But I'm here for this. I'm here for this. I'm here for this. I'm here for this. You don't think that would have been more productive, a more powerful statement? You don't think more cops?
For the mayor. It would have been a more powerful statement for the mayor.
No. It would have been a powerful statement for people who believe the mayor, which is all those motherfuckers who don't believe Black Lives Matter. So you would have got so many other people that have never taken the consideration of another perspective into form until they heard the mayor say it. And then when they did, it was finally from somebody that in their mind they trusted. And they were like, well, who is this? What does that mean? And then all of a sudden, you get more people that fucking turn and they go from this thing to being like, hey, you know what? There may be a problem. Maybe there is something wrong. Maybe I was looking at this wrong. Maybe Kaepernick wasn't disrespecting the flag. Maybe something else is going on and I'm naive of it because of where I live. Because even the mayor's talking about it. Imagine how powerful that would have been. And I get that people don't want to hear the ally part. People want to just fucking clash and they want to just bang because they're pissed off. But man, we can make progress, real progress. Because in the civil rights movement, they made like an inch of progress. And then shut them all up. And shut everybody up and threw them through a crack epidemic. And it was crazy fucked up. We have a moment where we can make actual progress. Set stepping stones that make actual change. And I just don't think that we're thinking it through. And I think if I was the guy at the protest, I was like, hey, maybe we could just listen to him real quick. Give him 30 seconds. Maybe he can say something. Blah, blah, blah. People would be like, fuck you. You're blah, blah, blah. You're this and that. What are you, a fucking fascist? Boom. And you're like, fuck, dude.
And
that's trash.
I mean, I don't agree with people who protest like that either. Because again, I think in my mind, Justin, the biggest separation here is like, I think there's a place for conversations. I think there's a place in town halls. I think there's a place that you do talk to those political.
A protest is a forced town hall, though.
And I do think that there's really appropriate positions for that to have those like very civil, very like transformative conversations. But when people are out protesting, it's really hard because there's little organization on the level of like on that, on the level of being able to like, here's our message. And also just the forum is not right. Like too many people can overtake it. It has to be like moderated by somebody at some point. But that's why at town hall you can have those conversations, because there is a moderation there. There is a moderator. There is structure to help the conversation move in a position. That is the goal there. I don't know if that's our goal in a protest, is to bring that understanding and build the relationship with them. And so, I mean, I want to kind of just hit a pin on this, and you hear that same like toxic part of like people just adhering to famous things, and even like it can be used for good, right? When you can get a figure outside of a space to support one. You've talked about, was it Elvis or Johnny Cash? Johnny Cash taking the vaccines.
No, it was Elvis taking the vaccines.
Elvis taking the vaccines, and when you talk about influence like that, but at the top of the show too, earlier we were talking about how you got to be careful. Like you're very careful on the internet around like letting influence like your opinion of shit. And I think we all need to be more careful in that, and especially right now, because there are good people sharing really great information out there, but there's just so much. We're bombarded with shit right now, and it's tough for me to like parse everything out there and see what the fuck and try and like not exhaust yourself on all the shit, but try and find some sources that help you get through this shit, and especially outside of social media. I know I've been reading a lot of like King, and I read a little Angela Davis this week, and like that's been super helpful just to hear like voices that have been through these same movements. That's been really helpful to hear what somebody had to say 45, 50, 60 years ago, and what King talked about, 70 years ago, 10 years before he was assassinated. Like that has been helpful, because it at least feels like I'm not crazy, and some of the shit that I like this is real. Like a lot of this is real, and like very fucking real. And it's been real for a long time for lots of people, and these people especially. And like, if you need help as a white person, I'll talk to white people right here. If you need help trying to understand this stuff, the only way that you understand some of these movements is by engulfing yourself in those kind of communities. And the simplest way is to start reading Black authors and start reading authors that just aren't white in general. And you will expand a little bit, I hope, if you can find somebody that touches you in ways that I've found authors that have really like turned my opinions and my thoughts into things that I can check now, because they still happen, right? There's still racism inside me that I still have to check on a daily basis on what I have to do as a white person. But it's a journey, and you'll be surprised at how patient people are with you too, as long as you're like willing to work for the white people out there. Shout out to
there you go,
the white people who do listen.
There you go. Well, you have anything else you want to add, Eric? You the brownish motherfucker here. I feel like you gotta have something to say.
I got sunburned one summer,
and
it just stayed.
I got sunburned.
I know. I like that's a one-time occurrence in your life. That's a weekly thing. 1 week I got sunburnt again and again.
That's still 3 shades. That's still 3-4 shades darker than my pale ass.
I know you're like, my freckles are a little darker,
Yeah,
a
my
little lighter
freckles
up here. It's like, no, Eric, my darkest freckle is still lighter than you.
Yeah, no, I used to be a lot
looking
darker.
like fresh macchiato. I don't even know if macchiato's brown. I'm just talking shit.
Fresh macchiato?
Yeah, what's macchiato look like?
It's like you're right on there. Yeah.
All right, sweet.
I think, I don't know.
Is it a light brown? That was the point.
I think so.
Looking like a creamy brown, boy.
I look like
Shit.
milk chocolate. I mean, I think
Check your racism.
Oh,
You can't.
I'm gonna start yelling shit back at you too. I'm gonna start yelling about your homophobia or your transphobia, Justin.
Go for it.
I'm gonna scream at you about it.
photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis.
Oh, I like photosynthesis.
Yeah.
It's-
I photosynthesize all the time. I think to get back to like the origins of like what you guys were talking about, which is if you can support a movement but still have like arguments or debates against it, I think it's possible to do so, but I don't think it's in the way that JK Rowling did it, where she's a big person, she's a big influence, and she's kind of stepping back from like the main argument. Like she's taking the spotlight.
Sure, but
from
we
it.
also don't know what the main argument was because I don't know the context of what she's sharing.
Yeah.
And I assume that everybody on Twitter is responding to something because that's how Twitter works. If not, it would be similar to a conference room where everybody's just talking to themselves. It doesn't work that way. You see other people tweeting, and even when you don't tweet at them, you're tweeting about something that's going on there. within a contest. So that's what I'm gonna assume. If somebody wants to tell me I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. Besides the comments, before you even get there, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, Google, hit the follow, like, subscribe, whatever they got. Do all that shit. Fucking, we're on every single platform. You got anything else before we get out of here, Steven?
I don't know. Like I said, y'all, go read some books. That's it.
Read some fucking books, y'all. And I'm sorry if I offended anybody. I swear I'm on y'all's team, even if I don't entirely agree with everything everybody's doing all the time. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, it's the way I think. But that don't mean I'm not on your team, and that don't mean I don't agree, and that don't mean I'm not, I just think that's a weird way to feel. We could disagree about that if you'd like. In any sense, I think that's been the Lone Ranger versus Tonto in this motherfucker.
Peace.
Holler.